All right, man, peace. So, brothers, the players across the NBA have spoken. They have declared by a very slim margin that they believe that James Harden should be this year's regular season MVP over Giannis Antetokounmpo. Do I agree with that? No, I do not. As a matter of fact, if I were to gauge exactly what the percentages should be, I would give Giannis probably 55%. James Harden, I would give maybe 30%. And then the rest, I would divvy up between the rest of the players. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Sam Amick of The Athletic polled 127 NBA players on a series of topics, including who's the MVP of this season. 122 of the players who participated in the poll ranked James Harden number one in the MVP race with 44% of the vote. Giannis coming in second at nearly 39%. Stephen A., does this prove Harden should win the MVP?
No, it does not. I think that it just proves that many of the players across the NBA, or at least the 122 of them that voted, feel like what James Harden is doing has been so outstanding because he's carried the team with his point scoring.
Well, I don't think it proves it, but if you want to say it that way, that's fine, because Harden's definitely my MVP.
I also think that when we look across the history of the NBA, normally players win the MVP award a year or two after they could have won their first one. Even Michael Jordan won his first MVP award in the 1987-88 season, and the year before that, he averaged over 37 points a game, had over 200 steals and over 100 blocks in a season, and still did not win the MVP award.
The fact is that he's been sensational this year, averaging more than 36 points. He's been absolutely phenomenal along the way. There is no doubt about that. And unlike Giannis, who deserves strong consideration, because Giannis is big time.
No, Giannis does not deserve strong consideration. He deserves the MVP award. He's been one of the top 3 or 4 best offensive players in the NBA and been one of the top 2 or 3 best defensive players in the NBA, and his team has the best record. I mean, if that's not a recipe for the MVP award, I don't know what is.
And he's definitely the future. I look at Harden, his shot-making ability, leading the league and getting to the free throw line, just a magician with the basketball.
What you're describing is the Offensive Player of the Year, which is an award that the NBA does not have.
Can hit from 3, can hit the mid-range, can get to the hole at will, can hit free throws in a better than 85% plus percentile. And I think about the 24 games or so that Chris Paul missed, the games that Clint Capella missed, the games that Eric Gordon missed. And I think, and the fact that he has Mike D'Antoni instead of Budenholzer. Mike D'Antoni is innovative offensively. We understand that, but even he himself has admitted it ain't about coaching. I just give James Harden the ball. Budenholzer is coaching. He's definitely coaching.
He's coaching his ass off.
Not just offensively, but on the defensive side of the ball, using the gifts that the Greek Freak brings to the table and
The Greek Freak.
formulating his defense around all of that and making folks that we weren't even thinking about in the bona fide players and have the Milwaukee Bucks as a legitimate title contender. Giannis has all of that at his disposal. James Harden does not, and could still very well end this season as the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. He's been absolutely sensational. He's getting he has.
So in other words, you give out MVP awards for a player who's not even having as great an individual season as the player on the team with the best record. That's what you're telling me. Strictly based off of offense. I got you, Stephen A. Smith.
He has my vote, and I don't see how anybody can disagree with it personally. And I know some people will.
You don't see how anyone could disagree with you voting for James Harden, even though, as has already been proven, the Greek Freak is on the team with the best record in the NBA, and he's having a top 2 or 3 offensive season and a top 2 or 3 defensive season. And you're going to give all the credit to the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks and none of the credit to Mike D'Antoni. When Mike D'Antoni says he does not coach James Harden, what he really means is that he allows James Harden to do whatever the hell he wants to do out there on the floor. In that way, he's coaching him. He's telling him, go do whatever you want. So that's the reason why James Harden has the greenest light in the history of the NBA.
This is really close. I'm not going to sit here and pretend this is Giannis. Definitely, it's Giannis to me by a hair. I thought Giannis had...
I don't think it's that close. I mean, it depends on what your definition of close is. As I've already stated, I would give Giannis about 55% of the vote. I give James Harden about 30% of the vote.
Had an early lead in the season, especially because Harden was given the opportunity, in a sense, to prove he's so valuable because Chris Paul went down and Clint Capella went down. Whereas Giannis until the Brogdon and the Mirotic injury, but Mirotic was a recent trade. So
it's also going to be very difficult for Giannis to win many of these awards because, again, he's not American. So it's difficult for many of these people in the mainstream media to latch on to him because they like narratives and they like storylines, and Giannis is not going to give them any of that.
So it doesn't really count the same way. In other words, he hadn't played with him all year. Until then, he hadn't really had a chance to show that he can carry the team quite the same way that Harden could. But I thought Giannis built a big lead, and Harden, once those injuries hit, started chipping away at it and eventually took the lead. And we argued on this show. You said it was over. I said not yet. And Giannis had some monster games since then. And the Bucks have the best overall record in basketball in spite of the Brogdon and Mirotic injuries. And I think Giannis has it by a hair. Stephen A., if you look at
he has it by afro, not just a hair.
Not just the counting numbers, but if you look at, which are close, right? If you look at the, by the way, they're close because Giannis has a huge advantage in rebounds and also has assists and also scores a lot of points and all that block shots.
Great defender.
If you look at the advanced numbers, if you look at PER, for example, which is good shorthand for offense, Giannis has the slightest edge over Harden.
That's my point. It's not even like with all the numbers that James Harden is putting up that he's lapping Giannis Antetokounmpo offensively. They're basically having the same season offensively.
He's also a much more valuable defensive player. And
by far.
And yet, if you look at win shares, how many wins is this one guy worth to the team? Harden has an advantage because he plays more minutes. But if you look at win shares per 48, meaning at the moments that they're actually out on the court, who's more valuable? It's Giannis again. It's that close, depending on how you...
Giannis is having a season very similar to Steph Curry's season in 2014-2015. That year when they tried to act like the MVP race was so close between himself and James Harden, and the players voted for James Harden to get MVP, and the writers voted for Steph Curry, the reason why Curry got the MVP is because he only played about 31 minutes a game that year. He barely played because the team was so proficient, they were blowing out their competition by the end of the third quarter.
How you look at it, but the way I look at it, it's Giannis by a hair. And if you needed to see how he would respond, could he carry a team in the event of injury, he's even done that recently.
Agreed.
Offensively, Giannis is a tremendous contributor. You could argue Harden's even more important offensively. But then defensively, I think Giannis has a larger edge than Harden has the offensive edge. His team has the most wins in basketball. It's Giannis.
Agreed.
I'm not getting into all the win shares. I don't give a damn about all of that.
Of course not. You're not going to worry about things like facts. Who cares about facts? You're going to vote for James Harden because you're an offensive butt boy. You love offense. You're going to side with James Harden also because you were killing him a couple of years ago. He invited you out there to the training facility, embarrassed you on TV when you took 25 three-pointers and bricked every last one. So since then, your team Harden. And also you probably have a little subtext of xenophobia that you're not quite aware of.
All of that, I'm not going to engage in the analytics. I'm going to tell you plain and simple.
No, you're not going to worry about things like facts. We get you.
The MVP award is not about who's the best player. It's about who's the most valuable player to their team.
And that's Giannis.
I believe that the Milwaukee Bucks can do more without Giannis than Houston can do without James Harden.
So then what's Chris Paul for then?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, listen, for the purposes of sports TV debate, I understand we like to parse what valuable means. In my opinion, value and best are interchangeable. If you are the best, you are the most valuable.
All right, we will leave it on that note.
So anyway, we'll see how it turns out. I have a feeling they're going to try to rob Giannis and give it to James Harden, but we'll see. So peace.